Faithful, pause for a second, because a few things are moving at once, and they're all connected. One of our key offensive pieces could be slipping out of the picture. The wide receiver room is staring at a real shortage. A Bay rival might actually be open to doing business. And there's this reunion buzz that sounds crazy. Until you look at what this roster could be walking into in 2026. And the wild part is, there's one approach that links every one of these threads, and it tells you exactly what kind of team we're trying to be at Levi's Stadium. Give me half a minute before you click away. If you're riding with San Francisco, tap like and make sure you're subscribed. Now answer this. Do you want the big swing for pure explosion? Or do you want cap-smart stability that keeps the floor high? Because wide receiver isn't a nice-to-fix anymore. It's flashing on the dashboard. The way the offseason is shaping up, the Niners could head into 2026 thin at the exact spot you can't afford to be thin. With Brandon Aiyuk after the AWOL fiasco, all signs point to the team needing to function like he may not be in the plan. That's not me saying anything is finalized today. It's me saying you can't build your entire offseason assuming he's coming to save the passing game. Then you've got Jennings headed toward free agency, and you already know what happens when a physical receiver hits the market. The price can jump in a hurry. Some of the faithful love the edge he brings. Others look at the potential cost and say, you cannot pay premium money for a complimentary piece. And that argument is going to get loud. Here's the real-world fallout if Aiyuk isn't here and Jennings walks. You're leaning on Ricky Pearsall, who has talent, but always seems to be in that just stay on the field conversation, and Demarcus Robinson as two of your only established options. That's not a situation where you shrug and say, we'll figure it out. That's the kind of situation where you move early or you pay later. You'll feel it in camp. You'll feel it on 3rd and long in October when defenses aren't scared. You'll feel it in the red zone when the windows shrink and you need someone who can win fast. And then there's the extra gut punch. George Kittle is looking at missing a significant chunk of 2026 because of the Achilles tear he suffered in the playoffs. If he's out, the offense loses that cheat code element. Those 3rd down bailouts, the tight window grabs, the way he warps coverage rules just by lining up. Kyle Shanahan can design answers, sure, but the NFL is still the NFL. At some point, you need guys who just win their rep. So it's not only we need wideouts, it's Brock Purdy needs targets he can trust. Targets who separate early and still battle when the play breaks down. Now, the part that actually gives you oxygen. The 2026 draft is loaded at receiver. Jordan Tyson, Carnell Tate, Makai Lemon, KC Concepcion, Omar Cooper Jr., Denzel Boston, Chris Brazell II, Jacoby Lane, Brennan Thompson, Eric Rivers. There are legitimate options with different styles and different roles. And that matters because this offense doesn't need one type of receiver, it needs solutions. The lane everyone keeps circling is a wideout at number 27 overall, and honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if San Francisco double dips early. 2 receivers in the first 4 or 5 picks, because volume is a real strategy when you're trying to rebuild a room fast. But deep classes can mess with teams. They can make you overthink. You've seen it happen around the league. You fall in love with traits. You pass on a guy who's simply good at football, and a year later, you're asking why he can't get open. So what do you want? The day one chain mover who's ready to contribute right now? Or the athletic project who might need a year before it clicks? And if you double dip, at what point are you ignoring other needs on the roster? Because there's a ripple effect here that people need to sit with. If you go WR at 27 and then go WR again early, you're telling the entire league, we're rebuilding this group from scratch. It's bold. It's also one of the cleanest ways to get chunk play juice back without setting your cap on fire. The downside is obvious, though. Miss on those picks and you're left with a room full of nice players and nobody defenses actually fear. Now let's talk about the idea people still can't process. Trading with the Raiders. Historically, it barely happens. The last time these teams made a deal was the 2021 draft. Before that, you can go digging. And even in 2018, when the Niners tried to land Khalil Mack, it felt like the best offer didn't win. John Lynch even hinted at the time that he wondered whether San Francisco was ever truly in the mix, or whether the Raiders just didn't want to ship a star across the bay. That's been the vibe for years. Call it business, call it pride, call it whatever. It's been real. Fast forward to now, and Maxx Crosby's name is being floated as potentially available. Nothing is confirmed here. This is off-season market talk. But the bigger point is this. The Raiders' posture might be changing. With John Spytek as GM and Tom Brady involved, the concept being discussed around that team is simple. Take the best offer. Business first, feelings later. And there's another layer that matters if you're thinking about a deal actually getting done. Clint Kubiak is now their head coach. He's connected to the 49ers world through his brother Clay Kubiak being on our staff, and he's got a relationship with Kyle Shanahan. That doesn't guarantee a trade. It does make the phone call less awkward, and sometimes that's the difference between never and we'll at least talk. From the Raiders' perspective, the talk is if they ever moved a star, they'd treat it like business and even involve the player out of respect. That matters because it chips away at the old emotional block of we can't trade across the bay. It becomes who's paying the most and does the player feel good about where he's going? On the field, Crosby isn't just a sack total. He turns third and long into panic. He forces quarterbacks off platform. He makes protections bend. And suddenly, your coverage looks cleaner because the ball comes out late and ugly. He changes the math for offenses. And then the debate hits the faithful right in the chest. Do you spend premium picks and premium money on a defensive superstar when the offense is begging for weapons and Kittle might miss time? Half the fan base will say, defense wins in January. The other half will say, if the offense can't score, you're not even making it to January. And that brings us to the name that hits people emotionally. Debo Samuel. Everyone remembers the highlight version, the chaos, the yak, the way he used to flip games. But here's the contradiction. If a reunion makes any sense at all, it's because Debo wouldn't be brought back to be the old Debo. He requested a trade, went to Washington, and that season ended 5-12, while San Francisco went 12-5 and won a wild card game. His 2025 numbers weren't terrible. 72 catches, 727 yards, 5 touchdowns. But the idea of him being the same true dual-threat weapon isn't the same anymore. At 30, it's fair to think the best peak is behind him. George Kittle added fuel before Super Bowl 60 when he talked about a rebuild year, still producing 13 wins and a playoff win, and then teased the idea of adding past friends. He said he hung out with Debo and that he loves him. There was even footage with Kittle, Debo, Shanahan, Lynch, Trent Williams, and Jed York. That's not a signing. That's not a promise. It is a very clear signal that the relationship isn't burned, and the locker room wouldn't automatically slam the door if that conversation ever became real. So the real question is role. Would Debo come back willing to be a smaller piece? Specific packages, defined touches, less I'm the number one, and more use me where the scheme needs me today? Because if the money and the role don't fit, it's not just cap math. It's locker room order. And at its best, the Shanahan era thrives when roles are clear. Everyone eats, but nobody freelances. Now my prediction, the move people don't hype enough because it's not flashy. Kendrick Bourne. With 27 free agents hitting the market in March, you can't keep everybody. But Bourne is value. He put up 551 yards on 37 catches and had back-to-back 142-yard games against the Rams and Buccaneers. That stretch matters because it showed what he is. When you need him, he can step up. When you don't, he doesn't make it messy. And he said on the Richard Sherman podcast he's trying to come back. He's got a good relationship with Kyle, and he called San Francisco home, while admitting the obvious. Money talks. So the bet is simple. A one-year deal similar to 2025, something up to around $5 million. Makes sense. He's not your explosive answer by himself. What he gives you is structure, Clean routes, correct reads, and a target Purdy can trust on third down, while rookies learn how fast Sundays really are. And it's not just the routes either. It's a veteran presence that steadies a room when young players hit that first NFL wall. Meetings, tempo, huddle chemistry, all of it. That's where the Jennings argument returns and splits the comment section again. Some fans will want to pay for the physicality and the edge. Others will look at efficiency and cost. Spark or reliability? Which one matters more to you? Now connect the dots. Draft a couple wideouts early. Keep Bourne as the steady hand. Only entertain a Debo return if the role is realistic. And if the Raiders' door is truly open, don't be scared of the Crosby swing. Because the insane part, I promised, is this. The 49ers might be building two offenses at once. Short-term survival for early 2026 without Kittle and with a wide receiver room under construction. And long-term upside through a loaded draft class on rookie deals. So I'll ask you straight. Do you want this team spending resources on safety or swinging for pure impact? Drop it in the comments. And if you made it all the way here, you already know this offseason is about to test what kind of identity San Francisco really wants.